Dad's Rules. This is going to be part 6 with Michael, Mr. Sunshine Janzen. We just cannot get enough of the guy. And yeah, we're just going to keep rolling through the guide, Solar for Dummies and Smarties.
You need to watch it. It's just good. It's important, plain and simple. No other way to put it. So
absolutely. And that's why we're spending the time on this. One, you're a joy to have on. And two, I just think that we're providing the market just some valuable information here.
Right on. Let's keep it rolling.
All right. Next question on here. Can you provide me with the warranty documents?
Yeah, right.
Okay, so your note says look for the differences in workmanship versus manufacturer warranties.
Right. So that was the part of the last segment of the last episode when I was talking about the workmanship, manufacturer warranties versus the production value warranties. Production value warranties is really what's paramount, what you should pay attention to. But did you get a copy of the warranty paperwork? I can't tell you how many. I mean, it's ridiculous how many people don't get a copy of their warranty paperwork.
Dead on. I asked for it when I signed the listings, and they end up having to reach out and try to get a copy.
Yeah, and then you call the manufacturer, and they're like, I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's a mess.
They come in every pallet of panels. The paperwork.
So there's no excuse.
They get tossed aside.
Okay. All right. Next question. Did the rep ask about the age and condition of your roof? Oh boy, this is a doozy.
Right. So you mentioned our friends over at Solar Detach and Reset.
Yep.
Awesome company, by the way. I now defer to them because for me to put our installers up on the roof to do a detach and reset is not as cost effective. That's all they do.
It's not, and that's all Solar Detach and Reset does. And you have to have power partners such as them. They're making a killing.
I know
they're making a killing off the fact that this question is not being asked.
Yes. So the reason we ask it, and honestly, we didn't ask it for the first several years. I never thought to ask it. It didn't become a question for us to ask until we started having customers call, well, we need to get a new roof. What should we do? You have to take them off. Okay. Well, can you guys come do that?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we can, but it's not going to be free. Well, how much does it cost? It's about $200 a panel.
That's what I would say. I think Solar Detach and Reset is $200 a panel.
Yeah. I mean, you'd take a 30 panel system, which is not uncommon, right? Times whatever wattage, but 30 panels, that's $6,000.
Yeah, that's monkey math I came up
with. Right, to
with.
take it off and then put it back on once the roof is done, and it's just pure cost. There's no economic benefit. So, it's important for us to ask about the roof, because if that roof has, if it's 15, 16 plus years old, it's really not a bad idea to consider redoing that roof, even though it doesn't need it now,
right,
to protect it for the next 20, 30 years.
Well, and the other thing is the material they were putting on before, the underlayment that they used to be using, is not the quality of the stuff now. The builders go with the cheaper underlayment as well. The underlayment that they generally use is only good for about 16 years.
Right.
There's product out right now that's over 30 years.
Right. Yep.
You might as well just get it done. And the fact is that they don't even know how long this new stuff is going to last. They're saying at least 30 years because it's that good.
And let me add to this, we have ways to help mitigate that cost of the new roof. So even you're thinking, why would I spend, $15,000, $18,000, $20,000 to do a detach and reset on my roof, reuse my tile? By integrating it with the solar, we have ways to mitigate that, minimize that expense, make it really inexpensive. And then in addition to that, we're eliminating that cost of having to do the panel detach and reset. I can make a roof almost free.
Yeah.
Right. So it's just a matter of knowing how to do things.
That's crazy.
It's all legal,
Yeah, no. Yeah.
I mean, it's people think, oh, there's something you got to do something shady. No, it's not.
Next one's about inverters. Single string inverter with power optimizers or micro inverters.
Okay, so I touched on this on the last episode. I'll keep this brief. A single string inverter is, everything is strung together like the old-fashioned Christmas tree lights.
Yep.
Right? Goes into one inverter that converts the power from DC to AC or battery to what we plug into in the outlets. AC is alternating current. So there's that. If one panel fails, the whole string behind it fails as well.
Mm-hmm.
If the inverter itself fails, the whole system fails.
Oh, wow.
Then we have the string inverter with power optimizers. That's Solar Edge solution. They're the ones that came up with it. And a very good solution, but still has this issue. If that one inverter fails, then the whole system goes down. But because of the power optimizers, it has the ability to emulate an N-phase microinverter solution where each panel has its own inverter. So you can't have a catastrophic system failure.
Okay.
This one can fail, that one can fail, but it's not possible for all of them to fail.
So my client that had their system go down, it was because they had the first one. They had the single string inverter where the whole system was down.
That they could have had a system with the single string inverter and the power optimizers, and
Their
the
system
inverter
was
failed.
from 2016.
So it was probably had power optimizers
Okay.
on it. So it was probably a Solar Edge. It's actually what I have on my house.
Okay.
If I had my druthers now, in hindsight, because I stopped selling that solution altogether.
Yeah.
Just simply because the N-phase solution is so much better. It was more expensive.
Mm-hmm.
If you deal with somebody that deals with a lot of them, the cost is comparable.
Okay.
But the benefit is so much greater.
Did the rep explain if you can or can't still get power during a power outage? Oh, this is huge. We saw California, how they started having all these new homes be built with them, and they were all promised that, hey, this will save you from the brownouts.
No. So the way these systems are designed, all of them, they have what's called a rapid shutdown and automatic bypass. So if there's a power outage, whether it be directly associated with that specific property or in the neighborhood, right? Somebody runs into a transformer or something like that. If there's a power outage, the system is designed to automatically shut down.
Is that to protect the system?
It is to protect anybody that may be working on that.
Oh,
so if you're in a sectioned off area, a grid, part of the grid that loses power, and linemen have to go work on it, and your house is producing electricity in the middle of the day, feeding into that grid, right? There's enough juice coming out of a typical system to kill a herd of elephants like that. And so it's a fail-safe. If there's a fire on the property and the firefighters have to go up on the roof, the first thing they do is they cut a vent hole. And if they cut through that and it's making the kind of power that it can make, it can kill them. So it's shut down.
So is there a way to still have it produce power during an outage?
There's one solution available on the market, and that's from Enphase.
That's the battery packs, right?
So, well, they have an integrated battery, their N-Charge battery, but they also, there's a component that has to be put in as part of that. That makes the battery work. So if there's a power outage, you've got battery, you still have power. It also enables what we call batteryless backup. So whether you have a battery or not, we can have this module on there, and it automatically cuts the power off to the grid. So your system can produce at its full capability during those sunlight hours of whatever time of day it is. So if it's later in the day, it's going to produce less. If it's peak of the day, it's going to produce better. But it gives it the ability to produce during those sun-producing hours. Again, it keeps the grid safe for anybody that's a worker, a lineman, or anything like that.
So if fire has to come to your house, they just flip the breaker, right?
They flip. There's a main cutoff switch. It's got a big, like
for the
Frankenstein.
the solar breaker, I guess. Okay, so there's still a safety aspect for the firefighters.
And then the system has it integrated into it as well. And so if you don't have that module, right, your system is going to, even with the N-phase microinverters, it's still going to shut down just like any other system. So the challenge with that is we usually will recommend at that point, if somebody really needs that, they've got some kind of critical care equipment, dialysis, oxygen, whatever, that they get a battery, and by putting the battery in, it comes with that piece of equipment. That piece of equipment costs half as much as the battery itself to do as a standalone. Pay the other half and get the battery.
Yeah, I'd get the battery.
Generally speaking, for APS customers, batteries still don't make good economic sense. Whereas SRP customers, also another utility provider here in Arizona, offering power, we won't do a system without a battery. Won't do it under any circumstances.
For SRP?
Yep. And it's all because of billing software.
Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, the proposal quote isn't directly connected to the contract. It generally is not when presented by an independent agent or agency. It's not legally binding as it's only a quote and it's not provided directly from the installer. Very important. If a direct representative of the installation company provides a quote, it is legally binding as they're a direct representative to the company.
That's right. So contracts, if you have a problem and it ends up in court and you're dealing with an agency and the judge goes, do you have a contract? Yes, Your Honor. It's Exhibit A. That gets presented. Great. It says the system size, what the system makeup is. So the number of panels, who they're made by, the inverter solution, the cost, how it's financed, and then some boilerplate legalese.
Right.
Not how much it's going to save, how much leftover bill you're going to have, et cetera. That's all on the proposal.
Okay.
So they'll ask about that, and then they'll go, okay, so do you have a contract? Yes. Was the contract fulfilled? Did they provide what's on the contract? The system, was it installed? Is it operational?
Right.
Yes, it is. Okay. Case dismissed. That quick. It's that quick. Doesn't matter what's on the proposal. Proposal's not a contract.
Right.
Right? It's just a proposed, this is what we're proposing. Right? It's not a legally binding thing. And so
I have had to have the same talk with people in real estate as well, is that, hey, look, you can have any conversation you want via text, via email and all that.
Napkin notes, Post-its, whatever.
Yeah, it doesn't matter, but we need to put it on a legal contract. Like we're discussing with an agent right now back and forth on a Belzer response, which is repair request. And before we put it on the official document, we're all going back and forth so we can be one and done with this piece of paperwork. But I know right now we have nothing legally binding until we put it on that final piece of paper.
And so what happens is case gets dismissed, then the homeowner has to go back and sue the sales org, and they go to court. Same thing, is their contract? Yes, no, we've already seen this contract. Do you have a contract with the sales org? Well, we have the proposal. Folks, it's not a contract. Case dismissed. The attorneys at this point in time, shame on them, because
they never should have gone.
Right.
Yeah.
But they get paid. So it's when you have a proposal generated by a direct sales rep of that organization that's also doing the installation, now the proposal and the contract are legally tied together. And whatever is stated or promised in that proposal and a contract is signed based on that, then they are binding.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Next one, this has to do with tax credits. Do you actually qualify for the ITC solar tax credits?
Right. So simply, if everybody's heard of these tax credits, it's a 30% tax credit. What most people don't understand is what a tax credit is and how do you qualify for it. Even deductions, they don't understand. A tax credit is a dollar for dollar credit that counts against the money you've paid in taxes. And so this credit, this 30% of the purchase price, so again, using $50,000 as an example on the purchase price, you would have a $15,000 tax credit. But if you are on Social Security and you're retired and you have limited income and you pay little to no taxes, will you qualify for it? The first answer is yes, you will. Will you get that $15,000 back in one shot? The answer is no. Yeah. You can only get back out in any one given year or tax return what you've paid in to taxes. Right. So if you paid in 1,000, you'll get 1,000 back, and then the other 14 will roll over into the next year.
So like in my case, I'd get it all back in a year, but for somebody else is getting, say, $5,000 a year in taxes.
Right, it would take them 3 years.
Take them 3 years.
And
that's fine. They're going to get it, but they need to understand.
They need to understand it because it can affect the financing.
Right.
The way the financing works, they give you typically right around 2 tax return time frame to recover that money so your payment stays low, because when you finance these, they give you the benefit. The finance companies actually do something pretty cool where they pretend as though that 30% tax credit, you used it as a down payment. So they base your starting payments off as though you've given them all that money and you haven't. But if you don't give it to them within a certain time frame,
right,
payment goes up.
Yep.
Right? You give them more, payment goes down.
Okay. How long do I have the right to cancel? Read the terms of your agreement before signing. It doesn't matter what the rep said. The contract is the contract.
So this is it's a tricky one because it will vary by state.
Yeah.
Here in Arizona, we have what do they call that? Not buyer's remorse, cold feet. Anyways, we have a 3-day right of rescission.
Yep.
Okay. On many things like automobiles.
Mm-hmm.
Solar contracts, you've got as long, if it's not installed on your roof, you can cancel.
Really?
Now, the installer can have language in their purchase agreement that says 3 days, right?
Okay.
It doesn't mean you have to abide by it, right? You can follow that rule or not. They're allowed to have that in there.
If they have it in, though, is it binding?
No, it's really looked at as
nothing.
It's looked at as subjective or suggestive, and the sales organization plants the seed in the head that they have to bind. People don't care about it, anyways. I don't care if I've got a contract or not. You can sue me, right? I mean, it's ridiculous, but they can have language in that contract or that purchase agreement that says, should you cancel within this time frame, we can charge you for this. We can charge you for that. We can charge you for costs incurred. Costs incurred. Right now, where I see most of these companies fail, because I've seen things where they say it's going to cost you $10,000 to cancel, right? And they invoke that rule.
Right.
The language always states costs incurred, not fees that they wish to charge you.
Okay.
See the difference?
Yep.
Right? The words matter.
They
the
do.
words matter. So their cost to do a site survey might be $200, $250.
Mm-hmm.
They can't charge you $1,000 for it.
Right.
They're processing, internal office processing. Their cost may have been...
It needs to be true dollar for dollar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And all too often it's way out. It's grossly inflated. They try to make a buck off of it, and that's what kills it, right? So I come to a lot of people's rescue on that and explain things and get them out of it.
This next one you've already answered, but we'll go over. How long is the time between contract signing and installation? Again,
signing, it's typically about 2 months-ish. It can be as short as, less than 30 days. It can be 4 to 6 months. City of Phoenix, 6 months. It's gonna be 6 months.
Really?
Buckeye, Goodyear, it could be 30, 45 days, right? I've had them go as short as 17.
Wow.
So it depends on the jurisdiction.
What about an unincorporated Maricopa County? Because that's what Anthem is.
There's no permit required, so it can be really fast.
So in Anthem, it just go quick.
Yeah.
So just
then it
notifying the HOA, and that's about it.
And it depends on the interconnection process with the utility company.
Okay.
And they're
you're
not
still
in a
dealing
hurry.
with APS.
They're the what I call the revenue loss department.
Yeah.
They're not in a hurry to speed up the process to lose that revenue.
Right.
So, but sometimes it does go very quick.
Okay. How long will the installation take?
So on a typical installation, from a small system to I would say, 14 kilowatts, which is a medium large, not large, but it's a medium large. It can be done in a day before, quite often now, a good installation team can do a quality install work in half a day.
So you've got, with batteries, it could be up to 2 to 3 days.
Batteries.
So what's the deal with that?
So it's just batteries. It takes a lot longer to install the batteries,
okay.
the wiring, and there's just other precautions and issues because these are, holding a lot of juice.
Yeah.
So it takes longer. Typically, a couple of days to get it set up, and then there's smart batteries. You've got to program them and do all kinds of stuff, download latest firmware and whatnot.
Do you like to see this equipment? This isn't a question on here. It's a question for me. Do you like to see this equipment installed? Would you prefer to have this stuff inside the garage or on the exterior of the house?
So everybody thinks they want it inside the garage because I don't want it on the outside of the house. It doesn't look bad, but from a technical standpoint, I personally would prefer having it on the outside. If there's a problem, if somebody comes barreling into the garage and slams into these batteries, they're not supposed to catch on fire, but some of the older ones have.
Yeah.
Also, they take up space. It's the size of a large suitcase.
It is. I mean, I have a wider garage, and where I would put them, they would never be in my way because in the 13 years I've been in my house, we've never put anything where they would go. So to me, it wouldn't matter.
Yeah. See, in my garage, I have a wider garage as well.
Yeah.
I've got like 2.5 feet on either side. Actually, it's like 4 feet on one side, 2.5 on the other side, and it's packed. Right?
Yeah, because mine would go on the other side of the wall would be where the electric panel is. So it could literally just be on the other side of that wall on the inside.
And on my house, that side is mostly shaded and stuff. But mine would bake. They're designed for that now.
Oh, are they? Okay.
They're designed they're tested in Arizona.
Okay.
Most of the manufacturers, Arizona, Dubai, and Death Valley, California. And they test them for heat, heat issues and stuff. So they're designed to be able to be outside. Also, in the event of emergency, if there's something needs to be disconnected or turned off, whatever, any emergency worker can get to it without having to cut through your garage door.
Should I be home during the entire installation?
No, do not. Do not.
I don't want to be home.
Yeah, it sounds like they're doing the river dance.
Yeah, I know that. I've heard you say that on your videos before.
Yeah.
If you guys aren't following him on social media, you definitely need to be following Mr. Sunshine Solar on there for sure.
Either Michael Janzen or the Real Solar Guru on Instagram.
Yeah, and even a couple of your guys, they put out banger content too. They've really upped their game. I got to give them credit for that. That they've really been stepping out of their comfort zone.
They're becoming the best of the best.
Yeah, love it. And I eat it all up. So who is responsible for fixing any damage to my home if caused during installation or due to a penetration of the roof that results in a water leak?
So it is going to be the installation company. So if you're an agent or an agency using an installation company, the responsibility still will fall on the people that actually did the physical act.
Seems like it'd be a no-brainer. And you do have the note in here, licensed, bonded, insured contractor versus a sales org is essential.
Yes.
Who should I call when there is a problem?
So if or when, because there will be, they're not
There's going to be something.
You always want to contact your rep just in case they still happen to work for the company.
Yeah.
Contact the company that you contracted with. So you contract, if it's an agency, it might be ABC Solar that used Titan Solar as their installer.
Yeah.
You would want to contact Titan.
Okay.
And it'll be on your contract. Their license number, their address, their phone numbers, all their contact should be on the bottom of every page of the contract.
Perfect. How much money, if any, is due upfront? When are other payments due? So two-parter.
So as much as you can possibly squeeze out of them. No.
But in a non-funny way, you do want to probably at the end have as much down as you possibly can.
Yeah, the more money somebody can put down, right? The lower amount they're financing, the lower the dealer fee would be because it's a fee on the smaller amount. Not everybody has that, and the flavor is zero up front, out of pocket expense. So nobody is required to put any money down.
Okay, so it says on cash, it's 10% down, 40% at permitting, 50% at install.
So yeah,
that makes sense because you're not financing.
Right. So we don't have a surety of payment.
Correct.
If we're doing cash
financing, you have no down payment required, and payments usually begin 2 months after install.
But
you have a contract with the finance company,
right.
So that makes sense.
Yeah, so we're guaranteed to get paid, but on a cash deal, we don't have that, so we do require a down payment.
That makes sense. Did the rep offer the depreciation tax deduction, MACRS?
Mackers, right? So this is our secret sauce, and I put that in there on purpose. We have figured out how to provide an additional tax incentive that's worth several thousands of dollars, sometimes equaling or surpassing the federal tax credit.
Oh, wow.
In net benefit.
Okay.
So imagine two companies offering the same thing at 50 grand. There's the 30% tax credit, which is 15 grand, $1,000 from the state. Net cost is $34,000 from company B. From my company, we figured out this, what we call our secret sauce, and your middle America average tax bracket at 22%, that's still going to provide you an additional $9,000 worth of net financial benefit. My net cost is, $25,000, just under $26,000 versus theirs at $34,000 for the same thing. They could lower their price by that $9,000 difference. They're still not going to be close, because what happens is lowering the price lowers the tax credit. The tax credit's based off the price. They'd have to come down by almost $13,000 to match us. Nobody's got that. They can't afford that. They don't have that margin in it.
Right.
So even though we're not the lowest priced on the price tag, we offer the lowest net cost. We literally cannot be beat by anyone.
Wow.
I got it figured out. 2 years and $150,000 worth of meetings with the IRS, tax attorneys, tax professionals, business attorneys, and several meetings with the IRS getting it sorted out.
Wow.
So
you've done the homework.
Our competitors have not spent the money and done the investment.
They're not going to.
Some of them know about it, but they want to know how to do it. We even give our customer a sheet how it's done, but we don't give up the details of how we justify it.
Right.
So it's a commercial tax benefit that's available for commercial installations. And we figured out how to apply it for a residential one, but we have to justify it.
Okay.
That's the process that we figured out and are able to document and make it all okay and legal. Otherwise, I go to prison for inciting intentional tax evasion. Which is worse than the tax evasion itself. So I'm not.
No, you don't want to spend your glory years.
But I figured out a good one. Though.
Even though it would be white collar crime, and you probably.
I still don't want to.
Probably no fences, no nothing. Yeah.
But yeah, it's we've figured out it's a monumental benefit that we have.
Let's see. We'll tie this in. Which incentives come directly to me? Federal, state, other?
None of them. Excuse me. They don't. I'm thinking to myself. So they all go to the homeowner.
Okay.
They don't go to the installation company. They used to in the very beginning. And what happened is the installation companies, these installers, would inflate the price. So the incentive amount, it's a percentage of the purchase price, would be greater. They got to keep the money. And yeah, it was just a sham. So
do they still get it on leasing?
So whoever owns the equipment.
Okay.
Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah.
Whoever owns the equipment is the one that receives the financial benefits, the compensation, whatever.
All right. So if you'd like this show, please like, share, comment, leave a review, feedback. It all helps the show grow. Hit the swag shop up, because who doesn't need Dad's Rule swag and another kick-ass shirt? Well, you do. That's who needs it. dadsruleswag.com for that. And until next time, go out and be the kick-ass adult I know you all can be.
Rock on.